Hey folks, hope you're doing good today, having a good Friday and all that jazz. Now today we've got an exclusive submission and this band are rapidly moving up my list of bands that I like to keep on board with, like to check out and keep an eye on. And they've been on the show a bunch of times now and they're really cool. And they're a bunch of youngsters as well, as far as I'm concerned. I'm nearly 40 now. But yeah, they're kind of the new generation, I should say then, of musicians and making music. They've got a nu metal edge to their music as well. You can see where their influences have come from and stuff like that. So yeah, I really like this band and I like that they make submissions to get on the channel as well. Cool. Now, before we get into their music, they've let me know that these guys are actually involved in a bit of a Battle of the Bands competition at the moment. And if they get through and win this competition, there's a very, very nice prize at the end of it. They basically get to play a massive gig with the likes of Metallica, Slipknot, and all the big bands that you'd want to see on the con lineup. So I'm going to give these guys a shout out and you know, hopefully get some people over to this page to try and get them votes and things to win. What it is, it's a competition, a Battle of the Bands competition that's being run on a Twitch channel. And on the October the 4th, these guys have made it through to the semi-finals. They're going to go up against another band, and then you get to vote on it on the Twitch page. And if they win that, they get through to the finals. And then if they win that, they get to play the gig with all these big bands as a supporting act for the show. It's a festival. So yeah, super dope. So I know people aren't going to remember to go over here at a certain time on October the 4th. That's asking way too much. If I said, you know, go to this page in 10 minutes time, I'm sure most people wouldn't do that because it's just not the way things happen. So what I'm going to say to these guys is post about this in the Unsigned Showcase music sharing page on the day to remind people, and obviously put it all over your pages and everything on the day, which I'm sure they will, because you've got to remind people like right before it happens to go and do it, else it won't happen. But yeah, if you go over to this page on October the 4th, I'll put all the links in the description for you guys if you do remember that kind of stuff, and then vote for these guys. I'm always on Twitch, so I'll make sure to try and get over there and vote for them. Because I'd be really stoked if this band got on this lineup. I'll just get this page up here. This is all the bands that are on this list. Now, I was quite surprised to see some of the names on here. Some of the names on here I didn't even realise were still going. They were bands when I was a youngster, when I was as young as the guys are in this band. Stuff like Cypress Hill, Stone Temple Pilots, Rob Zombie and Pennywise. I mean, are Pennywise still going? I didn't even know they were. The Offspring, who must be a right bunch of old granddads by now. Stained as well. Lynyrd Skynyrd. Nice to see Mudvayne on this list. They got back together and everything. They're going to be doing more of their old school stuff, LD50 and stuff, which is when I thought they were at their best. So yeah, really, really cool. Nice to see some other bands as well on here that we've had on the show. I noticed Tala are on there, and we've been on board with them for a while now, and I've always said, yeah, they're a great band making their way up. So yeah, but I was quite interested to see some of the names on here. But I'm pretty sure whoever you are in any kind of band, even our grindcore guys, wouldn't mind getting on one of these lineups, playing with Metallica or Slipknot. Because I don't care who you are, that's a kind of, you know, that's a story to tell the grandkids. Yeah, we played the same stage as Metallica and Disturbed and Slipknot and all the rest of it. So I mean, come on, you got to give these guys a vote for that. So yeah, I'll try and remind you, but post about it all on the day, because else people will just forget. I know I'll forget anything. You know, 10 minutes later, I've forgot it. But today we're going to check out their brand new track. I haven't listened to this one yet. We'll do it together on the show. This is called Thoughts Revoked. It's a nice long one as well, 5 minutes 21. So let's give it a spin. Watch out if you're sensitive. I should pretty much say
what
that
the hell,
in every
Jimmy? You
video.
can't be in here. Right back at you.
These guys always come with a nice fat chunky mix. Nice bit of groove, nice nu metal edge to it as well. Yeah, I enjoy it.
Walk away. Justice, good doctors, let me breathe.
cutting through in the mix. And I'm pretty sure I say it every time, but I do like those neon green strings. I'd say the guitarist should get them as well. Make it a look for the band. I'm an absolute slave for blast beats, so I'm happy to hear them. Nice harmonies. Nice panning across the ears as well, gives it space. They're using these phaser effects on the guitars as well. It's not something you hear that often. It gives a cool sound to this chorus, goes nicely with the more melodic vocal as well. I really like this band. I think they're killing it. I think they just do it so much right. And, you know, for a bunch of younger guys, I don't know how old they must be, early 20s. I mean, I'm not great at gauging ages, but they remind me of kind of me 20 years ago, getting into bands, playing this kind of music. And I can just see they're having an absolute great time with it. These guys that love playing the music that they're playing, they really get into it. And I just get a good vibe from this band and their music. You know, it's funny how that sometimes comes across in the music and just in the video and all the rest of it. You just get a good vibe from it. Some bands can be really kind of, you know, held back or try to be mysterious and too cool for school, if you like. And I think these guys are they're just having a great time of it, and that comes across, and I have a great time with it because of that as well. Because for me, music it's not just about an expression, it's about getting down. You should be getting down to your own music, and I've said it to a bunch of bands on this channel before, you know, don't just stand there, don't just kind of phone it in. if you're not enjoying your music, especially when you're creating big, chunky, energetic, bouncing music like that, I see you in the video just kind of stood there and trying to be really cool looking and not having a mosh and not getting down with it. I don't feel the music and the whole vibe of the band as much as when I see guys really just loving it and really enjoying what they're doing. It comes through in the music, the vibe does. That's what I get from these guys. I just get a good vibe, and I like that in the music, and I like that from the band. But in terms of the sound, these guys are killing it. They got a super pumped up, as loud as it will go, ran through a limiter, widened out to the max mix, which is breaking all the rules. If you showed that to some guy, from a professional studio, especially from someone from the 90s or something like that, they would just, they wouldn't have it, because it's breaking all the rules. It shouldn't be that loud. It shouldn't be that wide. It won't translate well to tape and this and that, all the different stuff that they say. But these guys are stuff that we want to be loud. We want to be wide. We want to be chunky as hell. We want to be sound loud at any volume, which these guys do. And I love it. I do that with my mixes as well, although I have had to tame myself back a bit, because it's easier to just pull everything to 11 and just go mad with it. But these guys have still got a nice clarity to their music. You can hear the bass line under all of that guitar, the big chunky guitar. You can still hear the bass. Couldn't always be said for those 90s guys as well, and still can't always be said for some of the professionals today even. Well, if they're going to miss one thing out, it's the bass cutting through. But a lot of the underground bands, they know what to do. They want the bass to cut through, and I mention it in every video pretty much. But yeah, you can hear the bass cutting through nicely. I like those green strings. I'd get those green strings on all the guitars, make it a look for the band, because I think it just looks cool as hell. When you're playing a show and it's dark and you put a ultraviolet light on them, man, it looks sick in my opinion. I think it really just looks cool as hell. So I'd roll with that if I was them. I don't know if you can even get it for guitars, but if you can do it, I would say just do it, because it looks cool as hell. But yeah, these guys sound absolutely great, chunky as hell. A lot going on in the vocal as well on this one, more of a melodic side to it, but more of a kind of manly, metalcore-y melodic side to it. It wasn't singing, it was kind of shouting melodic, which is a different kind of way to do it. Sounded cool, went nicely with the music at that stage, brought in those phasers on the guitars and stuff, which was cool. Not something you hear very often in music nowadays, phasers on guitars, unless it's certain types of music. But in metal, no, you don't hear it very often. But I think it can sound very cool. It gives a space to the mix. It kind of, it's phasing in and out, and it gives width to it all. I think it's a cool sound. It's got to be done in the right way. These guys used it nicely to just add an extra sound to the chorus. Wasn't throughout the whole track, because it can get a bit too much when you're using it throughout the whole track. So they did a nice job of that. Had a great solo in there with extra harmonies and melodies over the top of it, and effects on that as well to put it in the mix differently. So look, these guys, I call these guys a new generation of musicians coming up. And look at them, man. They're putting out great videos. They've got a good vibe, a good energy, music with a great energy, super pumped up and loud as well, breaking all the rules. But in a way, that's new school as well, because it's breaking all the old school rules to sound different and loud, wide, and just kind of like bands have never been able to sound before. So yeah, I'd really dig that as well. They got a lot going on in their music. There's a lot to listen to. We had some blast beats even in on the drums in this. The double bass part sounded great because it was super heavy at those parts as well. So look, these guys are ticking so many boxes already as far as I'm concerned, and they're only going to get better and better, because they've got the whole rest of their lives ahead of them to get better and better, and by the time they're my age, they'll have another 20 years on top of them to get stuff done. And I just think it's absolutely sick that these guys are getting, when I was 20, you'd have to get this kind of production done, to get a video done and all the music recorded and mastered and all the rest of it, no matter how loud it was going to sound back then. I mean, I even did that as a band. We went to a studio. We paid £250 a day. We only went for one day because we were only recording 8 minutes. But yeah, it was expensive. the studio didn't do what we wanted, didn't turn out how we wanted it to sound, because we were a three-piece of just bass, drums and vocals. The bass wasn't loud enough and chunky enough to how it sounded live. They just kind of mixed it as a normal bass, didn't really get what the band were doing. So we ended up with a demo that sounded just like a demo without guitars, because it wasn't mixed in the right way. He should have really cranked the bass up, and he didn't. So, you know, back in the day, you had to pay for it. You had to be at someone else's, you know, process and demands and how they wanted it to turn out. You didn't have a lot of say over that stuff. And to get all the video done would have been an absolute nightmare and expensive and all the rest of it as well. These guys today are getting it done. I think it's absolutely sick. So there you go. That's the video talking about these guys, because I think they're a really cool band. I like to keep my eye on them. You know, these are a band that I do make sure if I see an upload or they've done a post or something, I'll check it out, because they're a band that I want to keep an eye on, you know, because I like to get on board with bands early. That's why I do this show, so we can do that, not in a hipster way, so I can say, oh, I was into that band before they were famous. But, you know, I just see potential in some bands, and there's more potential in some bands than others. And I think these guys have really got a lot of potential. And because they're youngsters, and I know that sounds patronizing, I shouldn't even say youngsters and stuff, but they're the new generation of musicians is what I mean by that. I don't mean they're young or anything like that. I just mean they're the latest generation of musicians to come out and get creative and start making music. And that excites me. I want to hear what these kind of, you know, people have got, what music they're going to make. Are they going to push genres on and things like that? So yeah, I think it's exciting to hear what new music and the new generation, what they're making in terms of music. I'm not one of these guys that gets stuck in his ways and, like, you know, only likes dad rock and stuff like that, boomer type stuff. I'm into the latest and greatest. I want to hear what these guys have got, and I want to, you know, hear who's going to be the next heaviest band, who's going to be the next coolest band coming out the gates. That's the stuff I get on board with. That's the stuff that makes me excited. And I do believe these guys are going to, you know, keep going and get further. These guys haven't plateaued or got as far as they're going to get yet. If they can get on a lineup with Metallica and Slipknot and all the rest of them, and I really, really hope they get a chance to do that, because they've already made it to the semi-finals, which is great. But if they make it all the way and get on that lineup, that'll just be, you know, a once-in-a-lifetime thing. But then it might not be a once-in-a-lifetime thing, because you'd never know what kind of doors that's going to open for you. Because if someone from one of those bands, in the other bands on the lineup, gets to see these guys play and they do a great show live, and he goes, yeah, these guys are impressive, I'll mention them to, you know, so-and-so from this record label or whatever, and they see the potential in this band as well. You never know what can happen. You know, things can turn around really quite quickly in the music world like that. 1 minute you play in pubs and clubs, and the next minute you're on a big stage, and you don't know what the fuck's going on. You know, that's how we end up with so many people who just blow all their cash because they just, you know, one day they're just normal people, the next day they're a superstar, and they don't know what to do. And I'm not saying these guys are going to be superstars overnight, but I'm saying that they've definitely got a good road ahead of them, and they're on a solid path already, particularly for their age, to really, you know, open a lot of doors. And if they can get on a big gig and a lineup, that'd be super dope. I'll be so proud of them. It'd be dope. So I'll be voting for you guys. Don't worry about that, but make sure when that day comes, you post about it and remind everyone, because you know what people are like. Anyway, hope you've had a good day today. That's 20 minutes talking about this band. But there you go. That's because I like them. I think they're a cool band. So we'll see you tomorrow over the weekend for some more cool bands. If you want to get on the show and I'll talk about your band, you can get involved. And maybe we'll start really getting on board with your band as well. Make a submission over that website. All the links are in the description. And we'll see you and talk about your band on here as well. See you guys. Bye. Have a good one.